please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
Hello and welcome to our special show, Decoding the Blockchain. It has been a tumultuous month for cryptocurrencies across the globe. The volatility has been immense. So while China has blocked crypto exchanges, US banks are steadily declining cryptocurrency purchases. And the Indian finance minister during the national annual budget stated that the country does not recognize cryptocurrencies as legal tender and steps would be taken to penalize crypto payments. To demystify the cryptocurrencies and the blockchain, now we are joined by a very esteemed panel. Joining me on the show is G. Padmanabhan, who's former ED at RBI. Vaibhav Parekh is blockchain and cryptocurrency practitioner at Nishit Desai and Associates. Ajit Khurana is president at Blockchain and Cryptocurrency Committee of IAMAI. And also joining me is Manish Kumar, who is co-founder Grex and also convener FinTech Solutions. Thank you, gentlemen, so much for joining us. Ajit, let me start with you first. And a lot has been said, not just in the Indian markets, but the international space as well when it comes to cryptocurrencies. The kind of volatile moves that we have seen come in for this space perhaps is something that got attention of various central bankers and regulators. Where is it that you see yourself standing and the country standing when it comes to this asset class?
So the volatility, when you find it to be very volatile, I think is in comparison with other markets, maybe the stock markets or forex markets. I think that comparing across asset classes may not be the smartest thing. And I do believe that this asset class is going to remain volatile, as volatile as it is today for the foreseeable future. And I don't see why that should be a problem right there.
Mr. Padmanabhan, just let's get in your first word on this as well, because plenty has happened. We've seen a lot of warnings come in from India, etc. 5 million people are trading, more and more adding every single day when it comes to this one. How are you calling it as it stands today?
The question before the regulator is that, or the government is that, we need to take a clear stance in this matter, whether we are going to allow bitcoins to be traded. If not, clearly, I think we are not going to be accepting Bitcoin as a currency or a legal tender. That's very clear. But whether we are going to allow trading in Bitcoin as a commodity, like many other countries around the world has done, and if so, formalize what needs to be done and formalize these rules. The problem today is that this is so volatile, people are lured into this because there is so much of profits into that. But as you know, if you take last few days, there has been enormous fall in value, something like 40%, 40 to 50%. As a result of that, there will be huge losses also. This is where the authorities would be called to question as to why didn't you take a definite stance in the matter. You have been issuing warnings, fine. But the way the exchanges are working today, it really worries me, because if it's a commodity, if it is formalized to be traded in an exchange, there are clear rules where there are circuit breakers and the mark-to-market margins, the variations margins, all this to make sure that the customer protection or the client protection is taken care of. That is not happening. So it is a complete random kind of transactions that keep happening. There are exchanges which on their own volition, they try to put in rules, they follow reasonably robust KYC practices. At the same time, there are different set of people who deal with this on an OTC basis or on a bilateral basis, and this is a cause for concern.
Well, absolutely. You know, as they say, Mr. Padmanabhan, most money is made when there is uncertainty in the market, and clearly that's what's led people in. But Vaibhav, coming to you, and since you look at the tax part of this, nearly 1 lakh people have been served notice by the IT department. More perhaps is in the pipeline. What is the department waking up, or why is it waking up so late to realize that people are making profits and they need to be taxed? Until now, why wasn't this issue treated, and what is the road forward from here?
I think the law is very clear. Cryptocurrency under current law, as the law stands, is more like an asset. If you buy and sell any asset, there is always a tax you need to pay. There is a question whether it is a capital gains tax or there's a business income. If it's a capital gains tax, then it ends up long term, it would be more than 3 years holding. If you're holding more than 3 years, it ends up being a 20% plus surcharge. and which are short-term capital gains, which is if you're holding crypto assets less than 3 years, then it will become a short-term capital gains, which is same as your business income, which will be more than, which is 30% plus surcharges. So I think the law in my mind is very clear. There is tax to be paid. I think people may not have realized this, as law specifically doesn't mention that you need to pay tax. The law specifically does not say that crypto assets is like a asset, and any gain on that also you have to pay tax. So I think to large extent it may end up being because of lack of any clarity in law, but at least we believe that the law as it stands today, tax on something when you sell a particular asset and you make a gain, it is something you need to always plan for and provide for.
I think on the lack of clarity or a law, it's common sense is something that the people should have perhaps gone with. But Manish, coming to you then, and you know, it's not just perhaps the cryptocurrencies that the government will look at. It's going to be about the e-wallet itself as well, whether the existing ones work, or is government going to come out with a credibility of that, questioning of that. What is your sense? I mean, clearly the government is into making and framing of rules and regulations, but what is the scenario? What do they need to look at as well?
See, my view is that we are looking at two different markets or two different problems. One is the volatility that is there because the Bitcoin has risen and the Ethereum has risen, and they have been volatile, and the way probably some of the investors have been flocking to it. That's one part of the problem. But blockchain per se, which even the finance minister endorsed, also needs you know, some solutions. So any blockchain essentially ushered in an ability to transfer value. Value maybe in terms of ownership of assets, or anything that has value can now be transferred, you know, almost on a peer-to-peer basis. Now, for blockchain to really succeed and those transfers to become legitimate, etc., for which there is no doubt that everybody is, you know, given a positive response to, we still need corresponding monies or what we call it as a consideration to be paid. Now, you know, the challenge that the other side of the world, which is more, I would say, the clearly legitimate part of the world, which is doing solutions around blockchain, that part of the world is really asking and looking forward to government framing some kind of guidelines which can give them access to a crypto currency which is legitimate, and you know, the government gives some kind of guidelines on that, so that blockchain revolution which we are seeing proceeds from this point onwards. People believing that the Bitcoin itself will be rising and it will become cryptocurrency of the future and treating as asset is a speculative question, and probably there are experts here who can answer that.
Sure.
But there is also a growing concern that the government needs to come out, you know, and create some kind of a cryptocurrency so that blockchain applications can proceed from this point onwards. These are two clearly different, you know, subjects that we are dealing, and all, you know, thanks to the Bitcoin surge that this thing has come to light.
Well, your point is very well taken, Manish, and that's exactly what I want to ask Mr. Padmanabhan here. With nearly 5 million people involved and more, that's an approximate number that perhaps came in last year sometime, involved in trading here. Would you say, you know, even if it's blockchain or it is cryptocurrencies, we really are struggling here, and there is a bit of a scare in the market, the uncertainty that while it is way too late for a law to have come, it perhaps wouldn't be a blanket ban kind of a thing here?
Absolutely. I think probably we have, to my mind, we should have taken this stance a lot earlier. What we need to do as far as the Bitcoin trading or transactions are concerned. Now, 2 years ago, personally, I think we had an option to say that we don't want Bitcoins in this country. But if you ask my opinion today, I think today it's too late to do that because it's become too widespread. Too many people are involved in that. So any kind of a complete banning will be more of a disruption. And cryptocurrency, forget the Bitcoins. I mean, today the world is talking about an a government-backed or a central bank-backed cryptocurrency as we move away from the cash and the paper. So that's the other related question that will have to be thought through. Yes, we need to take a stance as far as the Bitcoin is concerned, what we want to do with it. And secondly, we also need to think for the future, which is whether this country should think about implementing an officially backed cryptocurrency.
Well, absolutely. There are no circuit breakers, no margins, no clarity on law, etc. But that's about the cryptocurrency part of it. And as our experts, we are with us on our special show, Decoding the blockchain and the cryptocurrencies here. Ajit, let me start with you on this one. Of course, while the Indian government is struggling, we've seen a couple of committees being made and another one is expected by March ending. But what are the global considerations? What is there that we can learn on in sense of cryptocurrencies acceptance and blockchain as well?
Blockchain acceptance as a concept is very widely done, as I have not seen anybody speak against it. Sure. As far as cryptocurrency is concerned, I really appreciated the Monetary Authority of Singapore saying that while we don't fully get how this will evolve in the country, but we don't want to stifle financial innovation. So along with Italy, Switzerland, US, UK, Singapore has been a favorable place for Bitcoin. The places that have not been favorable are Nepal, Bolivia, Ecuador and Bangladesh. Now, where do we as a country see ourselves on the financial innovation bit? So I would say that this is that time in history where the government will make a decision which might be somewhat irreversible, but it will decide the path we take, the trajectory we take on financial innovation. On blockchain, however, while in idea everybody likes it, but my suspicion is that is because the implementations have not come. The true concerns will arise when we start implementing. Because if you have a decentralized blockchain, such as what Bitcoin presents, then again the worries of the regulator will be identical to what they face with Bitcoin. If it is a very closed user group, that is only banks can do it or only certain specified bodies can do it, then we are losing out on the value that blockchain technology provides. So I think that as an idea, distributed ledger technology is great for everybody like cloud computing was, but when banks start implementing it or financial institutions start implementing it, that is when we will see Bitcoin-like challenges.
Manish, is that what you think as well? I mean, of course, as of now, blockchain is a much expected, widely expected and has been spoken in very good tones by the ministry, regulator and the finance minister himself. What kind of challenges do we see there and what kind of solutions would you really want to come up with?
Yeah, so I don't see that really being a challenge. So to counter some of the points that Ajit mentioned, the real challenge is not this versus that. I think the real challenge, the real solution not lies in keeping it out of the banks, etc. I've been talking to banks; they are very open to new technologies of late, etc. And they are very conducive. Now, we can have blockchains of various kinds, public or private. What probably government can do, and we can from the FinTech Forum help them, is build governance and audit standards. Very much like you do for companies, etc. You need to do what you say you do. I mean, you have laws in the country, you have contracts that can, that has to be enforced. So similarly, for financial transactions related blockchains, you can have certain standards that we can come up with and evolve from that point onwards. I don't think the approach where we ostracize or keep the banks away is going to really, work out towards a larger, ubiquitous, non-speculative blockchain acceptance. And
sure.
on the second point, I've been talking to few banks.
Manish, Ajit wants to add to this, and perhaps you can answer back to him on this. Ajit, go ahead.
So I think that the easiest way to start adopting blockchain technology will be to implement it in absolute no-brainer areas where secrecy is not very high, as well as the volume of transaction is not high. So for instance, land records. Now land records can be made public. We can all know and do a title search, banks can do it, other parties can do it, prospective buyers can do it, and transactions are not so severe that bandwidth issues will come up. So I think for a country such as India to start adopting blockchain technology, such applications, if done first, will be absolutely smooth and seamless.
Manish, would you agree to that? Maybe that perhaps is a way to begin when it comes to blockchain as a technology?
I completely agree. So I completely agree. One of my companies is involved in one of the solutions. And you see, Ajit, commenting on your point, again you cannot ignore banks because you can do the titles etc. now on blockchain, But when somebody goes for a loan against such titles on blockchain, the bank has to accept that again. So in an ecosystem that we have, we need to evolve together. And I've been working with banks, and they are open to the ideas, to even the fact that, you will have digital mortgages tomorrow. The liens, etc., that are going to be marked on these things can be digital, and that will take away all the vault storage of all the documents that they are used to. Therefore, the whole point is that we need to move together, and there is a possibility that we can move together, given that there are some guidelines which respective regulators can issue around kind of blockchains and sharing of data, etc., and how they can be done.
Oh, well, you know what, guidelines, rules, regulations is exactly what we are waiting for. But Vaibhav, thank you so much for hearing our other panelists here. What, according to you, are the learnings that India can actually take from other countries, global considerations, when it comes to the taxing part of it, because there is still more clarity needed in this aspect as well?
No, absolutely. There is a lot of see, just like India is struggling with what laws to make, the other countries have also been struggling, and a lot of countries have made very progressive laws. For example, in Australia there has been a progress. Some laws have come in US some laws have come in Canada laws have come in Tokyo, in Japan, for example, they have issued license for exchanges. In Korea they have issued license for exchanges. There's law which has come in. Singapore, there are laws. So there are a lot of countries which India can look up to and use them and their experience to form a law. The best, in my mind, would be several associations have come with self-regulation, and picking something from that self-regulation will really help government to know studying those self-regulation really help government to know what they should do in this particular space.
Manish, let me come to you again, and this one is on blockchain yet again. There are a lot of startups that we have seen. We understand that if you look at the jobs that are being posted is 250% higher in last year. Job searches have gone up by 50 to 60% as well. So there is that kind of skill which is entering the market as well. That kind of money is being deployed. So even as a lot of people like you and others are coming into this market, what is the first thing that you would want cleared from the government in sense of rule, regulations, law, etc., when even as it comes to a technology company?
Yeah, so as I said earlier, that one of the first thing blockchain applications per se require, to transfer value, you need a corresponding payment made. Smart contracts can handle all that, but smart contracts need money to be, in the crypto format. Now that is available in the format of bitcoins or ether, or you need to issue your own tokens. Now that is the reason why we are seeing, everybody kind of going ahead and issuing their tokens, also, riding the wave. The real enabling that government can come out with, either they can classify and come out with rules around what tokens are legitimate, what are not legitimate, how much, what is speculative, what is not speculative, etc., which kind of allows for a regime where issuing your tokens is fine. Alternately, government can, give the blockchain development community and the market a cryptocurrency, virtual currency of its own, for which I've had some discussions from the forum side with some of the concerned ministries. Their concerns were around what happens if we allow this, probably what happens to inflation, what happens to when there is a concern around losing control over this.
Oh, well, absolutely.
Which in some sense was slightly not appropriate. From the forum, we are preparing a proper solution, and the solution is as simple as actually allowing for digital money to exist in the crypto form.
Oh, yes.
If you can transfer money in Paytm wallet or another wallet, you can transfer money into a crypto wallet as well, which can be recognized by RBI as a subclass of another PPI license.
Well, absolutely. Manish,
this way we don't increase the supply of money. We have the same money.
Manish, I understand there would be lots of concerns coming in from the government, and as Ajit was trying to make a point as well, that there have been some concerns that you also have been addressing with the ministries.
Absolutely. See, we are at a unique point in history, which happens about once every 50 years, I must say. So Nixon made money not backed with gold, and it's almost exactly 50 years since then. I think that the decision this government makes will not just affect money, not just affect investment and consumer sentiment, but even people's careers, jobs, employment. Today, the great job opportunities are coming to self-taught people. We as an association are working with universities to get this into curricula itself so that we can actually be the world leader in blockchain technology as we were in information technology about in the 1990s, and that is what we are working towards.
Oh, well, absolutely. So this is really not about trying to tell people, I mean, it's people already who are into this trade. What really needs to be done now is education, awareness, laws, regulations, rules, etc. So we actually have to take a step back here and ensure that all of that is in place. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us and making this much more easier to understand as what it has been a few days back, and especially after what the ministry is working on this.